GM to YouTube, and yes, I'm wearing the same shirt. I literally recorded these two videos like 30 minutes back to back. All right, don't judge me. Stop judging, okay? All right, I saw a lot of chatting about the surge potions. We just did the video on demonic spade, but there's also a lot of chatting about how OP and broken the surge pots are. They actually only passed with like 73%, which is fairly low as far as most updates go. It's usually like 85 to 95% vote. So 73% was teetering on the edge of failing. And a lot of people feel they are completely, utterly broken. I don't agree. I think they're actually fairly weak, but we'll be taking a look at that. We'll be running some numbers and taking a peek. Before we get into deep discussion about surge potions and their uses in OSRS, let's talk about the sponsor of the video today, Raycon. Raycon has blessed me with these everyday earbuds that help with noise cancellation and 32-hour battery life. They come in this very slicked up case with different designs to choose from on their website. They're also compatible with your Alexa, Siri, Google devices with multi-point connections. With 32 hours of battery life, you can take these out on a nice day of hiking like I did. And if you forget to charge them, no worries, because they have a 10-minute quick charge that gives you 90 minutes of life. They have a new waterproof, sweatproof, and dust features, which are super handy for hot weather or rainy days. They are affordable and sit in your ear nicely. When I'm outside working on writing scripts or reading, I love to wear these for the noise isolation to stay focused, but still enjoying a little bit of sunshine. That's why I got the yellow ones. Head over to buyraycon.com/Gnomonkey for 20% off the best-selling everyday earbuds, brought to you by Raycon themselves. If you don't know what these are, these potions have a hefty herb requirement, but they should be more than worth the effort. Once every 5 minutes, you can sip from a surge potion to restore 25% of your spec energy. 5 minutes is key there. We imagine that this will come in handy during your rage phases, clutch moments on low hit points, and speedrunning, or you can simply use it to give yourself a defense-reducing special attack at the start of every kill. These are 81 herb, some demonic tallow, which is a new drop, and a torstal to make a surge potion. You also need a drop of your own blood to make the magic happen. The sanguine secondary means you're making a brew tailored to you, so these potions are untradeable. So it's an untradeable potion, fairly chunky, herb rack, not too bad, but fairly high. And then some kind of new drop with a torstal, which is a fairly high level herb, some kind of drop from the new boss. I've seen a bunch of memes about this, of like, not even this, just like discussion posts on Reddit, Twitter, like people freaking out about these things. I think potions in general, I think that's where this comes from. I think potions in general have this stigma of overloads. Overloads OP, broken, bad. Adrenaline potions are in RS3 as well, so I think there's this like, drinking a potion for damage, bad. Very bad, not good. I think that's where this stems from. This post says, as someone who doesn't like the addition of thralls, surge pots are just as big of a mistake. Even now, thralls are in this state where if you can take it and you don't, you lose out quite a bit. An example of this is at Colosseum, where thralls do enough damage to kill 3 Javelin Colossus by themselves over an 18-minute run. Now, this is not about thralls. I also wish a certain other spell book had some utility. Clooners! Venge! Yeah. These are not thralls. Surge pots will function essentially the same, whereas most questions passed with high 80s and 90s, surge pots passed at low 70s and would have failed under 75, demonstrating the community's dislike for surge pots design despite normally default voting yes to everything. Untradeable or not, you either bring it or you lose DPS, which makes it exactly like thralls, but worse. And if Jagex forgets, there's a chance that Zeher might be able to make these potions for you en masse, so the untradeable nature means nothing. I don't think that's true. I don't know where he got that idea, because it literally says you have to use your own blood. I don't think he's gonna use your own blood for you to make potions. That last sentence is whatever. These are not the same as thralls. We'll get into the numbers in a moment. I wanted to show everything that people have been saying. There's a meme about shovel getting nerfed versus surge potion being fine. They say changes the meta for every PvM PvP encounter, adds an item that now needs to be brought everywhere. Interesting. Makes Wildy more dangerous. I don't go in the Wildy, so I don't know. Maybe. Straight buff instead of situationally useful, like death charge. We'll get into that too. Another timer and inventory management mechanic. All future bosses and CAs will be balanced around it, meaning a net result of just more hassle upkeep, resets every world record, will be even more powerful in ways that aren't immediately obvious on paper. According to Jagex, we're confident that they're in a good place. I am also confident they're in a good place. What does 25% spec over 5 minutes look like? Every 5 minutes you can sip a surge potion. What does that look like? The most obvious, like, okay, I could see that. Like the most obvious example of it being useful is instead of double clawing, you get a claw and a ZCB. Good, extra damage. All right, and that's super easy to compare. because you just look at a ZCB versus a Claw, which I have up. I have this against Maiden, drained to 0 defense, so this is like kind of a typical situation. You would expect most people in top to be using this kind of gear. So what does that look like in comparison? A ZCB versus a max gear Claw is around 8 DPS more. Around 8 DPS more a spec. And actually, if you go looking at everything, this kind of just typically is this number. If Claws are good, ZCB is about 8 DPS more, just typically. As a rule of thumb, you can figure that. Okay, how much damage increase is that on paper? Like, what does that actually give you every 5 minutes? So let's do the numbers. A ZCB spec takes place over 3 seconds. So we get 3 seconds of that bonus damage, an extra 8 damage over those 3 seconds. Okay, 5 minutes is 300 seconds. 3 of those seconds are getting boosted. Okay, all right. So you can just simply take 8 DPS over 100. Voila. That is your increase if you do a ZCB over a Claw spec every 5 minutes. And that is on the dot every 5 minutes. So the tick the potion allows you to drink another sip. If you sip it that next tick and immediately ZCB, you will get the full value of this 0.08 DPS. You follow? That's probably not going to happen, right? You probably are going to be waiting 6, 7, 8 minutes typically. Not really realistic to be using it every 5 minutes on the dot. At least some amount of seconds will be lost, and it'll be a bit longer than that even. If that number doesn't look very big, you'd be onto something, because that's a really tiny number. Thralls, because that Reddit post was directly comparing them, are up to 3 damage per hit. They can hit 0, 1, 2, or 3, so you can simply divide it by 2. An average damage of 1.5. They have an attack speed of 4 ticks, 2.4 seconds. You get a damage of 0.625. That's an added DPS of 0.625. If we take the minuscule, puny, tiny 0.625 that Thralls add and divide that by the massive, gigantic, game-shattering number that is 0.08 DPS, we are getting an effective value of almost 8 times more out of that rune pouch with Thralls. 8 times more damage. And this is in the best case scenario where that first tick you can spec, you're doing it. You are not wasting any uptime. You are sipping that potion and then you are ZCB specking. Thrall's 8 times more effective than that. So realistically, it's like probably 10 to 15 times more effective. To put that in more perspective, let's look at something else. Here we have absolute max melee, giga hyper max. We have the Scythe, the Ultor, the Rancor, the Torva, the Pharaohs, the Infernal Cape, and we have a slight downgrade of 1 strength down to Dragon Boots. The memed Primordial Boot downgrade to Dragon Boots. Primordials are a mere single strength bonus. They're useless. They do nothing for you. Reddit taught me this. All right. On the Maiden of Sukadinti, in this gear, drain down to 1 as you typically would be. Combat Pot, Piety, all that good stuff. Drain down to 0 defense. The upgrade to Primordial Boots of 1 extra strength bonus is from 14.42 to 14.59. 14.59 minus 14.42 is 0.17. If we take that over the massive, gigantic, earth-shattering, wave-crashing, tsunami-forming, whirlpool-sucking number that is 0.08 and divide that, the Prim upgrade is 2.125 times more effective. Why did this only pass by 0.7? Why did this only pass by 73%? What happened? And the reason is because Ars 3 has it, and potions are scary. Potions that give you damage are scary. This potion is not scary. It's really not even useful that many places. These are the uses I can think of off the top of my head. It does have uses. It's not bad. There are cases where it is getting more value than I am showing. So I'm being a pinch dishonest, okay? Not really. But the obvious use is Toa, where Adrenaline Potion makes it double effective for your spec energy. In that case, it's 2/3 of a ZCB that it's giving you, because a ZCB spec is 37.5%. You can almost always ZCB in Toa. There's a lot of cases where you can ZCB. You can get roughly 3 doses of value with ZCB uptime in Toa with Adrenaline. So in Toa, it's quite good, I think. I don't think new players are going to be encouraged to run that, because even then, it's not like absolutely mandatory. It's not like better value than a BGS, for example. Some people elect not to bring a BGS into Toa. BGS is way more value than this, right? But like, if you're really good at Toa and you can afford that extra slot, like you'll want to bring it. It's pretty good for that. Another obvious example is Tob. That use case of Claw ZCB is really, really useful at Maiden for stacking the crabs in team speeds. It's also really good on P2 Verzik for skipping the last red crabs. So there's a lot of cases in Tob where you need to push DPS really hard, and that energy is very important. That boost of DPS is very relevant at certain times in Tob. So there's times where you really need the damage, like even if it's just a little bit more, it's huge. It's very good in Tob. So we have Tob and Toa. It's like fairly good. Not for your average everyman though. This is for like people pushing content to the limits. They're bringing this potion. Where is this useful to you? There are a couple places. The obvious one is any boss you spec tab, because I've said if you drink out of a pool, it will give you the cooldown. It will remove the cooldown immediately as soon as you sip from a pool. So if you're doing like Forecath or like Zulrah with Scrolls, or I don't know, some people Sire, some people spec tab Sire, anything you spec tab, you can use a dose every kill, which is a lot of value in those cases. I don't think there's actually that many spec tab bosses. With like the more recent design, they've been kind of vying away from that, making bosses kind of far from teleports, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of cases where you can spec tab and this is giving you a lot of value, like bonus value you wouldn't normally be getting. Colosseum, I don't really think it's worth a slot. It's an extra half a claw. Our inventories are so crammed with junk for Colosseum that I kind of doubt this is going to find its way in, but you never know. Maybe it could have some use. Chambers, you have so much downtime between rooms to restore energy. This would purely be for hammers at Ulm, and I don't think it's worth bringing a potion for just Ulm. Like, I don't really see that being that useful. I don't think we'd be cramming this in CM. Maybe for normal chamber speeds, it would have a use because there's a lot of like less useful items. They literally are bringing like bronze pickaxe, bronze axe just to do the shortcuts to save a few ticks. So maybe for regular chambers, it's okay. It's not great though. Again, this is for like giga speeds. This is not for normal people. Like, this is like utter min-maxing, like you're trying to squeeze every bit of damage you can out. In raids, that's just not for the everyman. I don't see it. People are concerned about CAs. I mean, that I could see. If they design content around you spec tabbing every kill, that's going to be annoying and nobody's going to want that. I think that's a CA problem and not a this potion problem though. It's not like this potion shouldn't exist because they're going to design content around it. They just shouldn't design CAs around it. CA speedruns are a whole different can of worms. I might make a video on CAs someday. I have a lot of issues with CAs, but yeah, I don't think that's fair to not add a piece of content because some other piece of content could be designed around it. Not in this case. I don't think that really makes sense to me. It's more of a, they should just design CAs properly, then this potion shouldn't exist. Now, the new double death charge, on the other hand, that's cracked. That's super good. That's every minute you get an extra 15% spec, assuming there's things to kill, which a lot of times there's 2 things you can kill. This is going to help in a load of cases. Colosseum double death charge will go insane. Inferno double death charge will go insane. Any boss with ads, this is going to go really hard on. Death charge has a ton of really obvious use in raids. There's multiple Lizardman Shamans. There's multiple Mystics. Like, it's really good in both of those cases for chambers. Maiden has the huge pile of crabs, so you can easily get a double death charge off on that on most scales. Especially even duo. Like, there's exactly 2 crabs in duo tobs. It's going to be really nasty for that. And then, of course, Kefri with the swarms and all the ads. Like, it's going to be disgusting at Kefri. This is going to hit so hard. Also, Akka's shadows, in certain scales, you might be killing 2 within death charge. Those also give you death charge, so it could be really good there as well. A lot of really good use in raids. It's definitely really, really strong. Compared to the Surge Pod, I'm honestly really excited about the death charge and less so about the potion. As far as power creep goes, I don't think surge potions are it. I will say, if they are going to add power creep, special attacks are the way to go. I think special attacks are some of the best forms of skill expression. They require you to bring multiple items in a lot of cases. You sometimes bring 3-4 spec weapons into different encounters. They're really, really fun to use in different ways. I love spec weapons. So I think if you're going to add power creep, specs are a really good way in order to flesh the game out more. So if you want to add power, I think spec weapons are a good place to start. Versus just a weapon hitting really hard like Shadow or T-Bow. I would rather interesting spec weapons any day of the week over things like that. I just got reamed in my comment section by people that just want Shadow to be ultra powerful. I don't know where the anti-power creep crowd is now coming from. We have people flipping back and forth. It's very bipolar. Why is it okay for Shadow to completely overtake ZCB at next, the boss that you crossbow, versus a potion you drink that gives 25% spec every 5 minutes? Are you serious? It's just because it sounds like RS3. That's the only reason this potion seems scary. RS3 has potions that are similar to this. RS3 has a lot of power creep. RS3 is bad. We don't like RS3. Yada yada blah blah. This is not a reason to prevent an item from coming into the game. All in all, Surge Pots sound like an interesting addition to the game. There's certain cases where they're going to be strong and you're going to want them. I think a lot of interesting play is going to come out of this potion. There's also the fact that I think people think this is going to be like a potion worth like 3k GP or something. I would expect this, I don't know. I'm not Jagex, I don't know. Maybe they'll drop hundreds of these. But I would expect the tallow to be, you know, not dropped in mass quantities. I would expect this to be kind of an expensive potion. Like at least Sandview cost would be my guess, but I'm just guessing. It seems like that kind of potion where it's just like extra valuable, extra rare, a thing you don't use all the time. Maybe you don't want to spam it while you're spec tabbing bosses because it costs freaking over 10k a dose. Maybe, who knows? I think the fear mongering is really weird, I will say. I don't really understand where people are coming from. I think a lot of people just don't understand the numbers of things and things just seem scary. Really, this potion is not at all. In a lot of cases, it's not going to be worth the slot over anything else. I'm glad that there are discussions about balance. It's really rare for a player base to be concerned about things that benefit them being powerful, which I like to see. I just wish people would actually dig into some numbers and check if it's actually like as good as they think it is in their head. These really are not as strong as people think they are. Yeah, I just don't think these potions are that broken. I'd love to see them iterate more on spec energy, adding more and more interesting spec weapons like they're doing with the Soulflame horn. I think this is an amazing addition. It's going to be really, really strong, and it's going to have a lot of like unique use cases only in team content, which is amazing. Like an actual reason to do team content with a bunch of like, I'm already cooking so many ideas for next and stuff like that with this horn. You have no idea. I'm gonna have a field day when this thing comes out. But I think making unique special attack weapons and things that give you spec energy and things that boost specs, they're just a really good way to push content forward, push combat forward, push bossing forward. It's just really easy to design more interesting encounters when there's a wide variety of spec weapons. So I'd like to see them keep going with it. The horn is an amazing addition. I'm really, really excited about it. And that's it for the video. Leave a like if you liked it and or subscribe. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.